and welcome to this live. So, in this video, what I'd like to talk to you about is the upcoming full moon in Gemini, which is very, very unique for a variety of reasons. But before we get into that, I want to just spend a couple of minutes giving everyone a chance to show up. As you know, these lives happen when guided by spirit. There's no way for me to know when it's going to happen. I did try going on a schedule, but I found that schedules and I just ran on different paths. But yeah, so we're just giving a minute for peeps to show up. And if you're not going to catch it live, I'm sure you'll catch it in the replay. Okay, here we go. I see people. All right. Now, before we begin everything, I just want to acknowledge all of you. I've just got one of those YouTube year in review things, and I wanted to acknowledge all of that stuff. So, in the year 2021, all of you have watched my channel for 1.4 million minutes. So thank you very much. It's a total of 111,000 views. Top countries, the US, the UK, Canada, India and Australia. 2,040 comments received, 13,000 likes, and yeah, thank you so much. It's I don't do this for the numbers, and I absolutely do not do like mass media, self promotion, whatnot. And I like to grow things organically. For me, when I left Facebook, I was very determined to make this an organic community, something that was born of a mutual appreciation for the road that I was taking, which wasn't just about, I'm going to tell you about the stars. No, it's not. It's about creating a spiritual community that was actually inclusive and that was actually compassionate. And with that compassion, the ability to actually stand up and say, hey, no, this is out of line. Compassion, justice, and connection. That's what this community is about. And I'm so happy to see people who, and you write to me sometimes, people who feel very marginalized, people who haven't really found a place where they could feel like someone could explain to them what was going on in their lives. Sometimes it's people who are trans people, LGBTQIA people, ethnic minorities. Most of you are women, so I am appreciative of the the small faction of men, and of course people of different gender identifications on this. So thank you so much, all of you, and together we come together to make a community. So that's what I wanted to thank you all for, from just thank you, thank you, thank you. So having said that, let us get into, because we've got a good little crowd here, let us get into the actual discussion for today. And so today I wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up over the next few days. I just finished the material with Tier 23. And as you know, if it's something super important, it doesn't matter if you can afford to join the program or not, I will distill the essence of it to make sure you have access to it, because this is primarily a vocation. Obviously, I need to eat and I need to overcome certain challenges so that I can actually go into a place of not just surviving, but thriving. But I trust that the goodwill that is generated by that space will also take care of those other matters. So let us begin. Now, I'm not going to go day by day, bit by bit, alignment by alignment, because a lot of things happen very closely. So I'm just going to go on some key themes, and I just want you to pay attention to these key themes in mind as we head towards the actual full moon. And this full moon is quite powerful because it's going to be opposite the Galactic Center. Now, a lot of you ask me what the Galactic Center is about, and I've read the descriptions and they don't entirely give me my experience of it. Different people will have different experiences of it. I'll give you from my observation in my personal life based on my chart. I've seen that major galactic center activations have often resulted in usually quite painful, but also quite, life-changing moments. Like in 2006, something happened that completely pushed me out of the, public policy path that I could have gone down on. 2017, I was doing facilitations in the US, and that car accident nearly knocked me off. And both of those experiences have led to a very different person. But that's not going to be the same for everybody. It depends on what actually aspects the galactic center in your charts, which is at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. So the full moon will be at 27 degrees of Gemini. So it's opposing, you know. One of the things I do a lot of esoteric research on are the energies of the constellations, the fixed stars. I don't talk about them much because honestly, just giving the information without giving an actionable tool to me feels like an indulgence we can't afford. And you know, I am a Cap. So I'm going to be like, is this really necessary? And on top of that, Virgo moon, does this actually serve something? So when I do talk about these alignments, I just want you to bear in mind that there's a lot more material, but you know, I'd only really be pointing out what I thought was the most important parts. And when I was looking at aspects of the Galactic Center and I was trying to understand why I had a particular experience with it, I was looking at how, you know, also at the same degree, obviously not in the same location in the sky, the Galactic Center also aligned with the tip of the tail of the scorpion, where it keeps its poison. The Galactic Center also aligned with the head of the serpent. And I was just like, yeah, okay. So I see why these themes come up to me very, very strongly, and then I have to go and do them because before all of this started, before I even knew, before it was ever really publicly, available information, I was always someone who had an eye on these underworld energies and always did facilitation to try and bring peace and try and bring harmony to these areas. And that's one of the reasons I would be a lot more sensitive to it. But other people see the Galactic Center completely differently. For other people, it's a very powerfully focusing experience and they get charged and they get a oomph about it. It's great for them. That's totally cool, because they'll be working with different themes, doing different things. What I find about the Galactic Center is that it brings at a metaphysical level, it feels like the kind of place, like you could call it a nexus, in which different streams or different strands of time come together and coalesce. So when you have key alignments of the Galactic Center, it's so hard to predict because you're being faced with truths literally from spaces and times in which time is a non-linear experience at the spiritual level. And that awareness becomes a lot more rarefied at times of alignments like these. So what is actionable about this? It is the awareness that shit gonna get weird. And what does the actual full moon teach us and tell us? It is the reminder that throughout whatever is happening with you with respect to all of this, your voice, your ability to navigate, your ability to just take a breath and collect yourself and understand that you are a presence, you are a being in your own right, you exist in a certain space and time, and you have the right of response to whatever energy comes streaming through the Galactic Center. So, in other words, you don't have to just take all of it and say, oh, okay, this is reality, this is truth, I'm feeling this must be the way I go. No, there is a point of navigation, and that keyword navigation is what's going to be very, very important for us collectively as we head towards the actual full moon, which in terms of universal time will be in the wee hours of December the 19th. So for those of you in the Americas, that's going to be on the 18th. So you have to see which time zone that resonates with, or rather that mirrors for wherever you are. So at this time, it's a very critical moment for humanity because we also have other things happening in December. We've got the node shifting, the mean calculation of the node shifting. We got Uranus Saturn square. These are all just precursors to even more transformation and change. But what I feel with this particular full moon is that we're going to have to really look at what other strands of possibility are coming our way and to choose if we want to follow those strands. The problem with the Galactic Center is that people assume that what they see is what they need to follow, when there is a multiplicity of truth. Very rarely can someone say in a certain experience, unless you have documentation, or even that, it's subject to interpretation, unless you have something that says point A, point B, point C, point D, When it comes to a spiritual reality, it is important to recognize that relativity of truth. And at the same time, it's also very important to recognize where some people may be using that very principle to continue to hide in their own delusions and their own ego. And the reason why this is coming up very strongly is because the energy of Borasisi, the false light, number 66652, if anyone's interested in looking it up, that energy is squared the galactic center, and it has been for a while. So this is the kind of energy where people are being asked to look at, am I truly being open, or am I hearing what I want to hear? Am I open and willing to challenge myself and check the validity of my truth? Or am I just going to allow anything that's appealing to my ego to come in and say, hey, this is what you want to hear? And that's a challenging thing for people to do. Whether or not they look for spirituality, whether or not they're looking for God or enlightenment, it is difficult to face the prospect of invalidation. And that is why people have things like cognitive dissonance. And that can also come up very strongly, especially if you are avoiding the truth. So, what you will also see now, some of you have for those of you who've been following me, especially this year, this is something I've known about for a little while, but I've only really felt comfortable talking about it this year. And it's certainly something which a master teacher that I work with, and those of you who meet me and I see you need that person's help, I always refer them. It's not someone I keep secret. But the master teacher that I learned primarily from, though he would hate that name, he taught me about something that really changed my experience of reality. And it made sense because it was an inner knowing that I always had. I felt deeply uncomfortable with the way in which spirituality and religion were discussed, and in the way in which they were practiced in houses of worship all over the world. Remember, my background was completely different. It had nothing to do with any of this. So this was an inner knowing. And then when I found out that even up above, if you want to call it that, if you want to use that differentiation, that there are certain laws, there are certain codes of conduct that mirror the changing and shifting of different ages. So when I learned about the fact that there was an old occult law and the fact that we were transitioning with some difficulty into a new one, that made a lot of sense. Just because there are people who are willing to break through what tradition and dogma tell them. They're actually willing to look at the gods and goddesses they worship in temples and on pedestals, and to look at their stories deeply, and to look at the person that they are standing on. In other words, a lot of religion, a lot of spiritual paths and teachings, including New Age teachings, are built on the backs, often of women or people of different sexualities and genders, often minorities, often indigenous people. In fact, sometimes the things that we call traditional and old cultures are already colonial. Colonialism did not just start with, Europe and the West several hundred years ago. Different nations have been doing it to themselves for thousands of years. So, especially with my travels to different sacred sites, this is the energy that I kept seeing. It doesn't matter if something called itself indigenous. It didn't matter if something called itself old. Was it truly aligned with the transformations that are happening now? And if so, what does that look like? And to me, a lot of the energies that come through the Galactic Center are often not aligned with these transformations. They still see the feminine as a commodity. They still see it as something that can be used and abused. And remember, the feminine occurs in all beings. It is not limited to male, female. It is in all beings. But this is where we actually will be presented with many different choices and many different paths as to how deeply we are willing to see it. Because, if you are too busy believing that you're some light body, you're not going to look at the being, usually a woman, that particular teacher or that particular teaching stepped on to get where they were. You just need to look at scripture. Very often it's written there, sometimes hidden in the guise of beautiful mythologies, and sometimes written as plain fact. But what is the shadow of, if you want to call it, spiritual patriarchy, absolutely. What is the shadow that is created? Whose voices have been absolutely pigeonholed, whose voices have been ignored or suppressed entirely? These voices will also be a key part of what is coming up right now over the next few days, because Vesta, the facilitator in Sagittarius, is also opposite Black Moon Lilith again in Gemini. So it is about these voices that have been oppressed and have been suppressed. But again, one needs to be very careful. Humanity is deeply creative. Instead of actually just allowing people whose voices have been marginalized, instead, people who have more access to power take them, commodify them, fetishize them, or what we basically see are abusers and narcissists who learn a completely different language. Instead of being grandiose, they're now vulnerable. They're now the people who are using the language of being wounded and being, unheard, but honestly causing a lot more harm. So things become a lot trickier. There are layers and layers and layers of glamour that actually separate true spiritual seekers from the raw work that has to be done. And a key part of the work is to listen to the voices that have been stepped upon. Now, sometimes that's social justice and activism, absolutely. Sometimes it's just reaching out to friends or people around you whom you felt, you know what, I never heard their side of the story. Sometimes it's looking at yourself and the parts of yourself that have been squashed down by abusive or toxic family members or people at school or people at work or whatever, and excavating those voices. And the realization that the more each of us do so, we actually create a world in which it is more permissible for one's true voice to be heard, whether or not someone likes it, whether or not someone accepts it, whether or not you can make money with it. That is one of the big goals here. It is about the liberation of the voice, especially the suppressed voice of the feminine. Now, there are multiple alignments that are supporting everything that I'm saying, but one of the best exercises I would say you could do at this time, for those of you who are more involved in the esoteric side of it, or people who are just trying to look for a practical tool, the best thing that I would say we can do right now is to simply sit and listen. Go to nature, or speak to people whom you know have been, not allowed to speak, or just listen, journal, look at things from a different perspective. Try to understand where there are silences and where there are erasures. Where do things look a little bit too glossy? Where do things look a little bit too sparkly? And ask questions. I mean, a lot of the times in the beginning, like nobody really was talking about the false light in a very detailed or in a very systematic way. Because it's hard to talk about. You either know it or you don't. But only when you actually sit to ask questions that look at and allow and engage different parts of your consciousness to respond, can you actually discern what is happening. If you just take everything on board and say, hey, something's communicating with me, it's spirit, it's God, I'm awakened, yay, nothing's going to happen. So this navigation that comes through the self, that comes through your own personal relationship with consciousness, this navigation is what we are all going to be asked to do, especially as we head towards the full moon. Ask the questions that are difficult. Look at the answers that you don't want to see. Look at people who pretend to wear the glamour of I'm so enlightened, I'm so this, I'm so good, and crack that shit down, because that is what needs to happen. For a new world to emerge, we must destroy the edifice of lies and illusion, and that will only happen when we are willing to speak the truth. And that is ultimately what sets you free. So that's pretty much the energy of the next couple of days. There's also a lot of potential drama coming up with the North Node the mean North Node at 0 degrees of Gemini. Ceres, the mother nurturer, one letter away from the mother's murderer. Lots of potential parent-child conflicts or conflicts being replayed from early childhood dynamics to do again with the power of the voice. How does the voice nurture you? How does the voice control you? How do you nurture others? How do you control others? These are the kinds of questions that also need to come up at this time. But in a nutshell, that's your prep, that's your work for what's going to be coming up in the next few days. And if you don't know what to do, just sit and breathe, because Gemini also rules the breath. But generally speaking, you breathe all the time. I'm pretty sure of it. But try to have a more conscious appreciation for your breath, for your pauses, for your silences. Take the time to think things through and don't just jump the gun. Sometimes it's very, very important for you to basically open your mouth and say, no, this is wrong, this is bullshit, this is a lie. And sometimes there's that part of you that's super triggered that just wants to use your voice to hurt and launch toxin. That doesn't help anybody at all. So, whilst there is an absolute space for you to really just speak up, there's an absolute space for that. Make sure that it is coming from a part of you that is responding to your innermost self rather than the ego. And that's something that I would say is a very important differentiation to make. Gemini, as you know, is not my favorite sign. Sorry, Geminis. But it's not my favorite sign simply because I'm not someone who does very well with people who are dishonest. So, it's for me, it's like, why waste my time? But at the same time, that same capability can actually be used for something positive when you are willing and able to see different truths that you are not willing to see before. So allow yourself, even if it's painful, to look at a different perspective. And if that perspective exists just to pull the wool over your eyes, still not worth it. But that's what I wanted to tell you. So now I'm going to turn back to the community, and let's do our hellos. Hello, Magneto. Hello, Dusana. Hello, Carmen. Hello, Tanya. Hello, V. Stormfeld Witch. Greetings from the bunker. That's what we call our place too. Hello, Evie. Hello, Michi. Hello, Ria. Hi, Angel. Hi, N Black. Hi, fam. Hi, C. Davis. Hi, Pamela. Hello to you. Hi, Cosmic. Hi, Lantern Hill Morgans and Pirate Cat. Hello, Benita. Dusana smashes the like button again. Thank you. Hello, Brandy. Hello, Melanie. Hello, Wild Lovely One. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Dragon. Hello, Christine. Hello, Raymond. I just came here to hear mean words about us Geminis. Look at the whole context, man. Hello, Umi. Hello, Joyous. Hello, Red Goddess Tarot. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Diane. Dragons like Gemini, dishonest. Ouch! It's true. It is absolutely true. There's that same quality that Gemini can use for a lot of reflexivity. It can also use for dishonesty. I mean, look at it. It's also very much connected with the energy of Janus, which is the two-faced one. So there are different things to it. I mean, Capricorn can be an absolute sociopath, right? Can be a complete sociopath. Libra can be an absolute doormat. So it all depends on the sign. My personal pet peeve is Gemini, but that doesn't mean I'm going to hate one. It just means that I'm always going to be a little bit, are they telling me the truth? Or is this some slight negotiation, navigation of the facts? So, okay, let's see. Who else do we have here? Hello, Naomi. Hello, Denise. Hello, Marie. Hello, Carolina. Hi, Chiron. Hello, Yessie. Hello, Spaceboy. Hello again, Umi. Hello, Ray. Okay, we did the hellos. And no offense to any Geminis. I'm just talking about my experiences. So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. For those of you who just came in, go back to the beginning. The first 3 minutes is me thanking all of the community for the milestones we've achieved this year organically, which is nice. I mean, yeah, I believe in the power and the beauty of organic community, and that's what this is. So that's just good. So let's see. Umi Stone says, yep, Gate 6, K Gemini, the salesman. No offense taken, lol. Thank you for understanding. Tara says, hi, Dr. B. Great to be here listening from the UK. Cosmic says, lol, I'm Capricorn. Yeah, well, me too. So, you gotta be willing to see what's the good and the bad in everything. Sharon says, I'm also cooking. Lots of you cooking. It's 7:36 in the morning here. We are going to be doing our great outing, which is laundry soon. Oh, hang on. Joyous Day asks, any words for those with their sun on the Galactic Center? Okay, so this is a really good question. Now, the sun on the Galactic Center means that you're very attuned to these different frequencies that run through, that bring different channels of wisdom through different times. But if it's just the sun on the galactic center, you're also a bit screwed, because it's the case that, there's a lot of different frequencies and you won't know which one to follow. And you're basically most likely to listen to the one that has the most dominance and the most push. Because if you think about the energy of Sagittarius, you know, it's not exactly diplomacy and tact either. But if you do have other things aspecting the galactic center, um, if you do have other things aspecting the galactic center, then you can mitigate it a little bit, and you can kind of bounce the energy to go and look at different aspects of it from different parts of your chart. So, you've got, in some sense, it's not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. Some very aligned people can have very strong galactic center alignments, but they need to have other factors in their chart that make it a strength rather than a weakness. And if you don't have other factors in your chart making it a strength, then you're going to have to do a lot more work with grounding, realizing, okay, I'm connected to this big ass thing, but that's still not who I am. Rather than focusing on what is coming at you externally, you need to be focusing on who you actually are. Because at the end of the day, as each of us focus on the wisdom that is within, we then contribute to the collective sum. So, everything there is the sum total of what someone else has done. And maybe someday what we do will also be an option for a seeker to find. Ultimately, choose your own path. Listen to what comes, but choose your own path. That's how I would respond to that question. Hi, Paul. Nice to see you. Lantern Hill just finished dinner. Nice, nice. Space Boy IC asks, is it true whatever star system that is aligned with your birth date is where you're from? I don't think so. No, sometimes you have a very strong indication of where you're from based on what something like a transpersonal planet, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn. I would be more inclined to look at that. I would not by it, not by the sun, no. But that's my opinion. It's just what I think. Dursana said, my great outing today will be traveling around the neighborhood to collect fallen evergreen branches to bring them inside as Yule decor. I got creative with that. I mean, for me, I love Yule. My birthday is coming up. I love the symbolism of it. And technically, Malaysia is still Northern Hemisphere, so we still celebrate it by that calendar. So, and of course, everyone's here with Christmas mania because commercialism, Santa Claus, da 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 da. But I like Yule. So what I did was I made like a deconstructed Yule log with looking at the metaphysical properties of what you would normally find in the key symbols, and finding herbs and bark here and trying to get that from actually Chinese medical halls because you can find it easily there. And I'm kind of making a deconstructed Yule log. So that's what I'm doing. We've also got some huge plants in the garden now. Like they just, like, once the rats appeared in the garden and I couldn't do anything about it, I just let the garden go. And we've got a really large acacia tree now and a really, really large noni tree now. So I might also saw some for there to create some hanging wreaths around the house or something. But great to hear. Carmen says, sending love to Lucky as well. Lucky Cat is very annoyed because her daddy didn't let her go and sit somewhere dangerous. So she just sat in the corner and she just made it very visible that she was upset. But she's okay. She's okay. Angel K says, I'm a total Cancer with a Gemini moon and Jupiter in Sag. This time frame, I'm feeling very drained and suppressed. Even though I mindfully choose my calm, everything is blurry. That's exactly it. There's so much of energy coming through. You just need to keep a space where you can listen to you. Joyous Day says, wow, thank you, Dr. B. No worries. Overflow says, hey, everyone. Hey. Dragon 2020, any words for Gemini ascendant? I think I struck a chord with the Geminis. Or is it a nerve? Gemini, my brother, well, I learn a lot from my brother who's also an air sign. What I find is with the Gemini ascendant, you need to be looking at the power that your voice has and carries and what it does to yourself and to other people around you. Be very, very mindful of your presence and how that influences your environment. Cesara says, hello, Dr. B, glad to catch you live. Nice to see you. Scotty Boy says, oh, I like you too. Dusana says, what type of wood are you using for the centerpiece? Hollybark. That's what I'm doing. I might actually break off a branch from the large acacia tree, towards the actual day. So that's another possibility. Raymond and says, do you have any thoughts on the Gemini meteor shower tonight? No particular thoughts. No particular thoughts. Nothing specific. Just watch what comes up and see what happens. When meteor showers occur, what does happen is that we get a burst of energy that tend to point us in a particular direction in life. And it's not a huge thing in the sense that it happens every year, several times of the year. But I would just say, just let the energy come and see what happens. Raymond says that did hurt our feelings. I think you're awesome despite the Gemini slander. Lol. Oh, is that Gemini denial? Kidding. But anyway, Angel K says even with major numerical and verbal synchronicities, it seems like reality and integrity sit opposite of each other when they shouldn't. False light or shift, I don't know. I'm taking it day by day. That's probably the wisest thing to do. It's so hard to know what's truth and what's not truth, especially when falsehood is so attractive. If it wasn't attractive, people wouldn't be falling for it. So yeah. Angel K says, thank you for the insights, so helpful. You're most welcome. Cesara says they're an Aries, Taurus moon, and Gemini rising. Carmen's just in tears. But yeah, I mean, it's not the worst sign, I guess. But it's I think my brother's laughing, but it's you got to make sure you handle it well. Like I said, every sign has their thing. Every sign has their thing. I was thinking about the signs that I really like. I love Aquarians. Aquarians and me get on like that. I'm like Aquarius. I think that is probably my favorite sign. Um, Apart from that, who do I really like? No, 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 no. Mm-mm. No. I like Scorpio. Mm, I think Aquarius and Scorp, they gotta be my favorites. But everyone's got their preferences, and that's okay. Tamalan says, hey, Dr. B. Hey, hey. Graciela says, lol, I love air signs. Scotty Boy says, I love Aries. Fair enough. Fair enough. But, having said that, I hope this message gives you all some material to prep with. And Scotty Boy says, oh, wait, I'm an Aries. That's why. Unsurprising, Scotty. Unsurprising. Well, I hope this gives you enough material to prep with. I don't know if I'll be able to do a video in the days to come because there's there's quite a lot of alignments that are hitting me quite personally. It's like this year has a vendetta against me. I can tell you that. Um, but I'm just gonna take it slow, But I wanted to make sure you had the intel before. Raymond says that their partner is an Aquarius and she appreciates my praise. Thumbs up. Aquarian women are the best. The best. Diane says, do you like Libras? Depends on the Libra, but generally I have a lot of respect for Libra. But generally speaking, I find that they have a kindness to them that I think is very important. But that is my opinion, and like I said, my brother is a Libra, and so that is my experience of a Libra directly. So yeah. But having said that, sending all of you lots of love, very many blessings, and please, Geminis, don't be pissed off. Don't be pissed off. Just, I know some of you are awesome people, and some of you are probably asshats, but that is true for everybody. So don't take it personally. Um, truth is true love. Oh, hello, hello. Let's see. Lapakos Dunvi. I don't know how to say this name. Hello, Dr. B. First time on your live. Appreciate your wisdom. You're most welcome. Tamalan says they love Libras, funny people. Okay, well, there's a lot of comments, but sending you lots of love, very many blessings. And yeah, just take care and don't fall for the Kool-Aid. Don't fall for the Kool-Aid. If you had to summarize all of that stuff, say no to the Kool-Aid. That's about it. So take care, very many blessings. Ciao, ciao for now, and thank you again for your support of my work. Bye.